Hello, everyone. I see Jackie and Nancy here. Just pulled out our two cards for this week and getting myself set up over here. Thank you, ladies, for being here today. It is has been like a really good mellow weekend, but I feel like that's making me a little spacey and not maybe quite as on point for whatever that typically means for me. Um, but I did pull out the past few cards as well because I have continued to use this deck, and so it keeps getting shuffled in. But I have not done any more coloring for our past weeks, but I did update my notes on the color suggestions. So I have those all pulled aside, and I'm hoping that I can catch those up. Maybe I'll do one today as we're talking. We'll see how I do. So anyway, hey Chris, hello. So there's no notification yet. I see that, Jackie. Thank you. Uh, but that's okay. We'll just get excuse me. I don't have my water in here. I have like a tiny bit of coffee left. I'm just in relax mode and I feel like I'm probably forgetting things. When I first came in, I couldn't even find this deck because I have just all the things around me. So I think maybe while we wait a few minutes to see who else might show up, that maybe I will color one of these that I was supposed to already color. So I think we talked about um, the Maiden. That was from way back when. Maybe I'll do, let's see, the Eternal Child. I think someone said, I think the suggestions were like rainbow and yellow. So maybe I will work on that, or rainbow colors or yellow. And I think what I'm going to do is have the middle be rainbow and then have like the outer edge be yellow, or should it be the other way? Like a prism? Maybe I'll do yellow in the middle. Anyway, let's play with pens for a little bit. So how's everyone just, oh, notice just posted. Sorry, I'm like reading what I'm seeing. I've gotten pretty good sleep the past few days, but you're just going to have to bear with me today. I don't know. Does this one look lighter? How are you all doing? I feel like I need another coffee. Ryan's on the phone. I sent him upstairs. His, I don't know what to call him, his mom's second husband. They're still close, and he called yesterday and he didn't have time to take the call. So he called back just now and he was out walking around on the main floor. I'm like, you can't talk out here because he's really loud. Ryan talks pretty loud anyway, but when he's on the phone, he just gets all excited and he's just he's a boisterous talker, is what he says about himself. So, which is fine, but I'm like, you can't stay down here, dude. So I think he went upstairs and is hanging out in our room. Okay, so one of these is gold. I feel like it should be yellow. Yeah, sent to his room. He's just really, oh, that's funny. I read it as misbehaving the first time. Yeah, some days we just move slow, wallow in it. I feel like yesterday for teaching, I was only supposed to have a half-hour spot just to run my choreography. I really only like teach the class once a month, which is an hour and a half, and then whatever choreography spot I have. Yesterday was just supposed to be a half hour, 12:30 to 1, like the very end of their whole session, and it got canceled. And so at like 10 o'clock, the director sent me a text and said that they were low on people, which I kind of was wondering why they were having rehearsal because it was spring break and I figured they wouldn't be around. So that got canceled yesterday. So it's like everything, like my couple little anchors of things that I, have to do, my scheduled things. Like I love doing this, obviously, but like that little anchor disappeared yesterday. And so I feel like that just set me on like total relax mode, even though it only would have been a half hour. Does that make sense? Does that ever happen? Like one little thing gets canceled and then your brain is just like, okay, I'm done. That's what I feel like. Okay. Now that I've said that I want to color this today, while we're doing this, I really don't. Maybe I just want to do it slowly. I don't know. Anyway, hello, Diane. Good morning. Sip, sip, everyone. I'm almost out, but that's okay. So let me show you our cards for today, and then maybe I'll color this and make you all talk. What's wrong with me? Oh, okay. 6, 7. Okay, so week 5, cards 6 and 7. This is the mentor, which is awesome. This is so beautiful. So the director that I mentioned, who sent me the text to cancel yesterday, when I think mentor, she's the first person that pops in my head. I've had a lot of amazing like school teachers and professors that some of whom I would consider mentors as well, that I like worked with repeatedly, or in grad school, especially. There are, well, even in undergrad, because as English lit, we had pretty small classes. It was more like a high school size class and not like big lecture halls. So those people felt like mentors too, people that I had repeatedly as instructors. But this woman who sent me the text yesterday, I probably first met her when I was like 8 or 9. She was one of my earliest like ballet teachers. And there was a phase of time where we didn't see each other, like before social media and texting. And when she took a break from the studio where I first met her, really had to focus on some family stuff for a few years. So she sort of backed off from a few things. And I was absolutely devastated. Like I was just crying at the kitchen counter when my mom came home from work. Because we used to get a letter in the mail that would tell us our class assignment for the following year. And the class assignment was advanced ballet for the following year. And it also was her resignation. And so I was like very happy that I got moved up, but then I was just like sobbing. Like my mom came home and she thought someone died. Like she didn't know what was happening. I could hardly talk. And so I think I was maybe like 13 or something at the time that happened. So anyway, fast forward, and there was no way for me to stay in touch with her. Like now, like I'm friends with past students of mine on Facebook and everything. And if I wanted to be able to get in touch with anyone, I could. But at that time, there was no, she just wasn't there anymore. So it was kind of mourning a loss. But anyway, we came back together when we were both at the same staff meeting for a different dance studio years later, when that owner had called me and asked me to teach for her. And my mentor that I'm talking about was also at that staff meeting. And so then we reunited and we started a student company at that person's studio, and everything is great. And we've just been working together on and off at different places since then. And the last place we worked together, it was quite a long stretch. And then some craziness kind of happened there. Like 2018, 2019, right around the time that I would have been going back after having Max. And so, et cetera, et cetera. I'm very close with this person. And so she's the one that pops out as like my main mentor in life. So there's me rambling a bit about that. There's interesting stuff going on. Let me see. Robin, did I say hi to you? I'm sorry. I say things in my head and I don't remember. Welcome, welcome. Sandy started playing a game this morning and his character has an owl. Sandy asked, what should he name the owl? So I said, Glaucopus. I don't know how to say that. Athena's owl's name. He looked at me like I just broke wind. Oh. Oh, the K. That's Greek, right? Am I saying it right? I'm trying to think of a teacher. I don't know. Someone phoneticize it for me. Gerald's here too. Why can't I see? I don't. That does sound like an infection or a disease. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my husband will say words like street name or someone's last name or whatever. And he always says, "Oh, that sounds like some kind of skin condition or whatever." He thinks everything sounds like that. He's got a problem, I think. My first mentor helped me during my coming out process, another on the art scene, and a third on the drag scene. Oh, and I suppose, dang it. Oh, and I suppose one in the tarot tube community. That is awesome. See, I love these little like milestones, these big moments in life, right? Glaucoma. That's what he said. He said it sounds like something you need to get yourself to the sexual health clinic for. Oh no. Oh. Jackie says, "That's cool, Robin. Do you do drag?" I know that Robin has shared. I know when Kelly Bear was showing some fabrics, Robin said one of them looked like a 70s couch pattern. Um, so yeah, I think not currently. He's saying not anymore, but I did in the mid 90s. There was something about like it looked like furniture upholstery or something that um now I can't remember, Robin, if you actually made the dress. I feel like you did. So, multi-talented. Okay. So, mentors. Since I showed that, let's go ahead and read. We'll just dig in, right? It's just really story time. Oh, I had a dress made from furniture upholstery. See? All these talented people here. Oh, Eternal Child is out because I might color that. Okay. Let me see if I can multitask. So, for the mentor, our keywords are the teacher, the sage, and the guru. It is said that cosmic knowledge pours down on the world like a great illuminated waterfall. This can be an overwhelming force. The true teacher, though, is said to be able to hold this flow of wisdom at bay while the student sips from a focused stream. The mentor archetype has a gift for reading the room, for sensing the exact ingredient that will stimulate growth within the student, whether pleasant or painful. The mentor may appear aloof or available, harsh or tender, humorous or rigid. Their gift is to know what serves the soul. Ultimately, the mentor is in service of the greater cosmic good and aids in the elevation of consciousness. Anytime the mentor forgets this humble link and mistakes themselves for the source of enlightenment, the archetype falls into shadow. Right? Right. Um, it made me look like a 1950s wing chair. That reminds me of when Dumbledore goes to what's his name, Slughorn, and he has charmed himself into a chair because he thinks it's Death Eaters coming for him. Anyway, some of you probably know what I'm talking about. He has like stripy pajamas on, and then he like turns back into himself, but he was the chair to like hide. Oh, I had signature white face makeup and looked like a happy marshmallow. Chlorine bleach, marshmallow surprise, and lastly, mashed potato. This is amazing. Or like the kids in Sound of Music. What is happening? Oh, with their, yeah, I get you. Okay. So, right margin says, keep in mind how easy it is to protect power. Nope. Keep in mind how easy it is to project power onto another. The expressions feet of clay and cult of personality exist for a reason. Okay. sometimes I struggle with this font a little bit. Like, it's not problematic. It's just a me thing because I like when font have feet. Like, it doesn't have to be like typewriter typeface, but I just prefer serif fonts because I'm nerdy and that matters to me. So just when I'm looking at it fast, like this doesn't even make sense because if the J had like the top on it, it would probably look more like a T than it did right here. But not to me, it would have helped me. I don't know. I'm making no sense. Um, Good morning, Sue. Jackie says you need to share some photos on your Facebook. Oh, they're in the photo albums. Got to do some digging. That was also the left. Not that this matters. This is just like if you're following along at home, obviously you can read your own book, but I'm just very backwards and like I'm not tired, but my brain is acting like I'm tired. Does that make sense? Oh my. Although it's typically true that parents are our initial teachers, the child will eventually seek a mentor figure outside of the home to assist their growth. Yes, and I think that's very important because I mean, I loved school. I had a relatively good childhood, as I've said before, um, and super loved and love my parents. And um, I actually did okay, you know, abiding by what they set for. I mean, not everything, but I was like a pretty easy child, if I do say so myself. Definitely wasn't perfect, but I, even so, I think kids need, and everyone really of any age, like I, of course, talk to my husband a lot, like I'm thinking of now, and like not just as a child, but we have other outlets, right? We have friends and other people that we talk to get different perspectives or to get different types of support. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important to have, whether it's mentor energy or whatever else, that we have these different facets of people around us to kind of to provide different perspectives. So, yeah, different teachers that, you're drawn to, or, um, sports coaches, or for me, like dance was a huge thing. And so different mentors. I mean, and I had dance mentors in my adulthood when I was dancing in the company and, people I had just met for, like, they'd come in, guest choreographers would come in for a few months. And some of those connections are just so deep to me too, Um, but here they're referencing the beginning of that, like when our parents are typically our first mentors. And that's great, of course, too. But I do think that it's so important to have these um, other people around and other people kind of providing examples and support for people. Robin says, my first mentor is like a second mother. She's in her mid 90s, and I worry about the inevitable. Yeah, it's so hard to just think about what happens when we don't have those connections anymore. But we always have, what they gave us. Cheesy as that sounds. It's really true, right? My son loved to find adult mentors. He's just always like learning from many people. Left my ex, and I'm feeling a little unnecessary at times. Left my ex. Oh, left my ex and I feeling a little unnecessary at times. Yeah, so that's interesting to talk about. So the book is talking about when the mentor falls into shadow, when the mentor acts as though they are the source of the information, as opposed to, now this can be controversial, right? As opposed to the universe using the mentor as like this funnel of information. So again, not um, pushing any kind of belief here, but what this book is talking about is that there's this cosmic energy and intelligence and intellectualism and wisdom and whatever else that comes through. And then that mentor, provides and disperses that information. So what Sue is talking about is that, that her child was maybe more prone to seek out a bunch of different mentors, maybe more than average. Um, and I can't imagine what that feels like to think like, oh, why this other person or this extra person? Um, but I think for the most part, it's good to um, to kind of let that happen within reason. You know what I mean? And again, I'm speaking from no experience with that here, obviously, because my child is 3, and I'm yeah, that'll be challenging, but I don't know, everything's challenging to some extent. But I love like, right now, we're in a really strange year, obviously, and he has seen, my mom and stepdad a few times last summer, and in a few weeks, he'll get to see them again. Um, but aside from that, our only other bubble people have been my best friend and her mom and stepdad. And I do feel really good, like, when Max is there because, again, this is a different scenario because he's 3, but just being around other people and getting used to, um, being mindful about how to act in different places and how to talk to different people and how to relate to different people. So even now, I love that, that he gets to have even this year that he's had at least somewhere else to go and other things to kind of learn. He learns different things there. I think it's a lesson in letting go as a parent, but sometimes we just aren't ready. Oh yeah, I really can't even imagine. Like a year ago, when we moved in here, we saw the school bus go by, and Ryan said, "Someday Max is going to walk out there and get on the school bus," and I was just like, "No, can't. No, he's not." Oh, but I mean, it's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Sip, sip. Jackie says, in my case, only more recently, but they need to fly. Right. And it's different timelines for everyone, sooner or like the average time or later. It's just at some point that little branching out is going to happen. And they do come back, Jackie. It's a cycle. Right. I try to think of myself, like even now, I'll, try to think like when Max is older and just, I mean, I can't really prepare myself, but I try to keep that perspective of like when I turned 14, it was like a switch and I was just like total bitch mode for almost just like a year exactly. And it was very hard for me. Jackie, Max needs a sibling. Well, we're trying. I might know in a few days. I might have news for Tarot Friends in a few days, but I really don't know. But there's that little teaser. Jackie, we're trying. um, why is this so uncomfortable? um, what was I saying? I don't remember. Crying in the school bus, and I try to think now about how it will be to kind of let go. Oh, I don't know if this is where I was going the first time, but a few weeks ago, we were walking upstairs. I was walking up the stairs with Max, and um, he said, like, when I'm a big boy or something, when I'm a big boy, I'm going to go to school, but then I'll come home in the afternoon, to be with my family. And I'll come back home in the afternoon and sleep or whatever he said. Um, so I thought that was sweet because he sounded a little bit like he was questioning or like waiting for me to confirm that like he's going to go to school, but then like he comes back home for, dinner and to sleep and things like that. So I was like, yeah, yeah, you do. You'll go to school and then you'll come back home and be with your family. So Robin says, my first mentor, a British lady with 8 brothers and sisters. One brother committed suicide because of the times, 1940s England, tough times. She empathized because of that and helped me in 1970. Oh, about being gay, I wasn't clear on that. I got you. She empathized because of that. I got you. That's really awesome. And I think it's cool like how we find people sometimes, you know? Not that I'm taking the wonder away from that, but again, my belief system is that we choose, like we all choose who the people are and they're just out there on our path and we put them there. But either way, it's really awesome and magical. Um, whatever your beliefs are on how we find people. But yeah, it's just so cool. Jackie says, did the lady know before your parents, Robin? Sip, sip. Thanks for letting me be chill today, everyone. I probably seem the same to you as I always do. But um, let me get back into this and read the light and shadow part before I forget. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. I understand. When light. Oh, he says absolutely. That's great that you kind of have this like sounding board and support and sort of like this pre telling, right? When light, the mentor is focused, clear, bright, and remains a student. When dark, the mentor is self serving, envious of youth, righteous, and rigid. To go deeper, the riddles of Zen masters and their students. So that's cool. I think I might make one post in the group that gives all of the like go deeper suggestions so that it's in one place. And if you are in the mood to go down some rabbit holes about these things, like our first 6 or 7 cards, then you can look up whatever art or poem or movie or whatever that she gives. I thought that might be a good way to do it. Okay. You like chilled, Ian. That's good because I'm very chill today. Could not be bothered with like makeup or anything. This is just 100% my face. My parents weren't ready for that info for about another 20 years. Yeah, that is great that you had someone else to turn to. Okay. Let's read about. No, I need to show you first. I didn't think there was such a thing as a bad mentor. Don't they all help us on our journeys? Yeah, so I think mostly I don't have examples of um anyone that I viewed as a mentor that then I thought was bad. I think that there were shadow moments with some of them. One person in particular I can think of um, who seemed also like a poet archetype to me that I was thinking about last night. This is what I do on Saturday night. I meditate before I go to bed and I like think about what I'm going to talk about here, and then I probably don't mention any of it. But this was something I was thinking about. Um, one person in particular um, would be very kind of like naturally poetic in class, but then there were other roles um, that I interacted. Why can't I sentence? Um, I worked with this person in other roles. She was my instructor. She was my artistic director. I was on the board of directors with this person. Um, I was a teacher for her, right? So we had all these different like interactions with each other in different roles. Like if I'm in the classroom with her, it's one thing. If I'm in the boardroom with her, it's a different thing. Um, so there were times where I felt like the shadow aspects with her were really strong. And then like in the classroom, she was a different person. Kind of like not to make it sound so drastic, but and I think a lot of that was like external pressure on her and things like that. Like she would have been perfect if we were just always in that, like she was the creator and I was the dancer role. You know what I mean? And not even specifically with me, like there weren't problems with me, but just I could definitely see shadow aspects when I saw her in different roles, if that makes sense. Mentors are still people. Everyone has shadow. I think they can slip into being controlling at times. Yeah. And they still, even in that light, um, that may be um that still may help us on our journey, right? It may show us what not to do or what to try not to do because as Sue says that there's still people, it's not we have to be careful about putting people on pedestals, of course, because, you know, it's just all of that expectation. I was never taught to question until I went to college and met my mentor, and that began the opening of my spiritual path. Maybe it's because she didn't consider herself a mentor. That's a label that I assigned to her. And that could be. Some people are going to be more readily thought of as mentors, like even like in the general public eye. Um, like this mentor that I'm talking about, the first one, like the mentor that the mentor who I still work with, um, she she would probably be lots of people's mentor in this area because of her reach, like in the dance community. So I see what Robin is saying there too. This is more, his was more of like a personal, like one on one, and this person wasn't on a platform to like lots of people. Um, Chris says, I love the image on the card. I see the fire at the bottom as the boundless enthusiasm of the student, and the mentor is teaching them to use their intellect and build experience to hone that energy. Yes. So that is a beautiful way to say, sort of reminds me of like what the book is talking about, but a different thing, like a sort of a parallel. Chris is talking about, um, did you say harness or is that just in my head? Boundless enthusiasm of the student and the mentor is teaching them to use their intellect and build experience to hone that energy. Right. So I'm thinking like sort of similar to what they said in the book um, about like funneling through. Oh, to hold the flow of this wisdom at bay while the student sips from a focused stream as opposed to being overwhelmed by it, right? So that is sort of parallel, I think. So yeah, that is really, really beautiful image. And it's like there's a circle with like that cutout galaxy. So it's like, I don't know if you can see the collaginess of it on here or if it really matters, but there's like a circle, there's like a sphere of that one like burning galaxy against just like the black and white stars galaxy, which I love. Okay, so then here's another sphere. So now we have our poet sort of like maybe holding the moon or a crystal ball or something like that. And it's just like the arms and hands. Sue says, I think I must have shadow on this. I see the owl's wings as being a boundary, almost preventing development. Right. And so that's where that balance comes in. Is the mentor controlling the person? Um, it's hard for me not to think about Nancy says, the poet archetype card reminds me of Corvin. I put this out there as a deep compliment. That's awesome. To me, a mentor is someone I can learn from and ask for their help in finding my way. Mhm. Hello, Angela. So, what did I just start saying? Don't know. I wonder about the difference between the poet and the philosopher. Oh, I know. When Sue was talking about the mentor feeling like a boundary, right? And it sort of is, even in the card, it says, trying to control like that sense of overwhelm. But like, I guess the really dark aspect, oh, about the spheres on both cards. Yes. Thank you. That I live in Michigan and we have had, so I don't know if you all know the name Larry Nassar, who worked with, he was convicted of serial sexual abuse. He was linked to many dance studios and gymnastic centers around here. And he is in jail now. And then John Geddert, maybe a month ago, died by suicide at a rest area, presumably on his way to court for his arraignment for similar crimes. They had worked together in several capacities because Nassar was at Geddert's gym um, at least once a week for several years. So that would be now. Thankfully, I never had contact with either one of these people. I was supposed to. I was. It was recommended that I go see Larry Nassar in like 2002 for my neck and my back and stuff like that. And I was not able, I was like sort of in contact with someone that was going to put me, this is such a mess in here still. I can't even put my elbow down. Anyway, I was maybe going to go try to get an appointment with him one time and I wasn't able to, thankfully. And I went somewhere else. I went to my first chiropractor after that and they were terrible. And then I went to my good chiropractor and I've been there ever since. So anyway, the point is I have taught students. I was teaching students at the same time that they were being abused by Larry Nassar, like knowing now how all of this has played out. Um, and I'm sure some students who have not gone public, but some of my past students have come on, um, Facebook and posted about it. So I only know that from their choice to make it public. Um, the I can't think what it's called. This is so ignorant. Like the International Women's Award, something something, a couple years ago, and they went to this like event. It was like televised and everything. Two of the people that were at that award ceremony were like longtime students of mine. And also, thankfully, it doesn't change anything, but it would just make me feel even worse than I already do. Um, None of the studios that I was working at um, had Nassar in house, right? There's a pretty prominent studio in our area that had him on site once a week. And then, like I said, he was on site at Geddert's gym once a week, things like this. So, and then people would just recommend that people go see him because he was a very skilled doctor and treated lots of injuries and you know so anyway, what I'm trying to say is that would be like the extreme, using your position of um as a safe sought after adult to abuse people, right? So that's like the fucking bottom of the shadow there, right? Like beyond all of that. So yeah, lots of work going on with people here in this area to heal from that. The only I'm obviously not mentioning names, but the only ones that I'm even referencing right now are people, again, who are at this point adults and have, put it out there. Um, but I do know of minors still who are currently institutionalized for that abuse. So I don't know how relevant this is, but that would be like the absolute bottom of that shadow. Teachers prosecuted here for the same thing recently. Yeah, and it's a web like across the country because Nassar went on the road with the Olympic team, with the Olympic gymnastics team years ago. I mean, it's like just this really disgusting web, and he was part of that. Spirit Healing Tarot. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so grateful that you didn't go to him. Yeah, it was. But so that would be like an example of really taking advantage of your position. Yeah, it's crazy to like live. I mean, again, I just got done saying it happens in lots of places, but it's weird to be like so close, like so many degrees. I'm like one person away, like 100 times over. And that's probably an underestimation of it. The Poet. Here's this card again so that we can get back on track here. Okay. Oh, I hear the mail truck out there. I don't think I'm expecting. Well, make playing cards, but that was maybe 3 weeks ago Thursday. I am waiting on that. Okay. The Poet. Keywords there are the artist, the witness, the truth teller. The right margin says the poet is related to the shaman and the bridge. Oh, right. Those connections within the deck. These archetypes hover in the meeting place between the everyday and the sacred. I love that because that's what I feel like. Left margin says it's likely there's a poem or poet that was meaningful to you at a young age. Revisit and reread it now, be open to its message. So then this kind of links back to Eternal Child and some of the other things that we have talked about. Oh, yes, poets seem like artistic philosophers. That would be a good way to say it. I was meaning to look in the table of contents, Robin, to see if there's a philosopher archetype in here, but I bet you're right that it's the was either the mentor or like absorbed into some of these other ones. So here's our main bit for the poet. The poet's work is to feel immensely and not be afraid. They must seek out truth in the darkest corners of the world and carry it back for all to see. This unique capacity resides within us all, regardless of our relationship to creativity. When the poet energy is present, there is a call for deep honesty and reflection, for seeing the big picture within the little one. The poet rides effortlessly between the personal and universal. It's possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. The words of the poet ring true for centuries to come, soothing the wounds of despair and violence that captivate our world. There, that's relevant. The poet's work is never finished. Find your voice and trust that the wind will carry it. When light, the poet is clairvoyant, wise, and timeless. When dark, harmful words, sharp tongue, thwarted creativity. And to go deeper, spend 1 hour reading poetry, then one more. I love that. Because I was an English major and I know some people are not into poetry, but there's good poetry for everyone. I will say that. Okay. So let me look at the beginning and see. We'll read through the list, the full list again, because this is split up into suits, as I mentioned, I think like in the first video. So where is it? Oh, here we go. Oh, there's a lot, but that's okay. Um, so it's split into tarot is like visual poetry. That's a good way to say it. So this is split into the selves, the places, the tools, and the initiations. So let's just run through the selves and see what's in here. The mother, the father, the starborn, the eternal child, the orphan, the mentor, the poet, the maiden, the hunter, the warrior, the queen, the king, the crone, the judge, the shapeshifter, the shaman, the lover, the siren, the animal, the pilgrim, the mystic, the creator, the destroyer, the sustainer, the healer, the comic, the unseen, the shadow, the self, the one. So there's that, just to kind of give you a full rundown of the different selves that we will be looking at. And while I'm here, next week looks like the Maiden, which we've touched on a little bit, but I want to go back to that. But I think we'll also be able to do um, mm, the Maiden and the Hunter. How do I feel about that? That seems good. So next week we'll do the Maiden and the Hunter, just to give you an idea, I think. I kind of also want to throw Warrior in there. We'll see. I have always loved Maya Angelou, especially and Still I Rise. That's my fave. Yeah. Oh, and Diane said Maya Angelou comes to mind. Visual poetry. Good, good. So I think last week too, I said I'm going to read part of the introduction, and I did not. Right? I think I forget every week. No, I did read a tiny bit of it. So let's just start at the very beginning. So we have the contents list, which I just read, the selves. And then we have this image here, the ocean within the mountain, right? And this is sort of her, like the catalyst of what created or inspired her to this project. So I will read this because I think as we go, if I do a little bit of this along with it, that it'll give us kind of some more context. So, the ocean within the mountain. It is possible that archetypes have their own agendas, their own work to do on us. With that in mind, I offer you my story. It had been about 4 years since I drew the Wild Unknown tarot deck. I wasn't sure what was next for me. My days were full, yet lacked enchantment. I kept up with my usual practices of meditation, yoga, drawing, and creating. I worked hard as I had a successful business to maintain and material investments to accumulate. From afar, my life looked figured out, whatever that means. Imagine what you will. Somewhere along this dull line of the life I thought I should live, I met a new friend. She told me about a master's program with a depth psychological Jungian approach to creativity. As she spoke, the words archetype, dreams, image, theater, alchemy, and myth rattled and sparkled. 2 weeks later, I found myself in Southern California, milling around the school's campus as a prospective student. That evening, I attended a workshop on the role of the individual in a troubled world, led by mythologist Michael Meade. I sang new songs and heard new stories. After the workshop, I drove the hilly coastal highway to a friend's house by the ocean, knowing something was shifting inside to me. I arrived at her house as the moon began to rise. I fell asleep hard. That night, I had a dream, a big dream, as they are sometimes called, the ones that stick with you, the image, phrase, or scene you can't shake, understand, or resolve. Mine was simple. There is a mountain. It says, I am the mountain and I am calling you. I wake up. Big dreams. Okay. I was mesmerized and terrified. Little did I know I had entered the infinitely perplexing and generative world of archetypes with the mountain as my guiding image. So that's cool to know about this whole process. But the image was pointing me But was the image pointing me to the literal or to the imaginal? Was it inside me or out in the world? Should I go to Mount Kailash and seek wisdom in the sacred caves where the yogis dwell? Take a rock climbing class, buy hiking boots? I decided enrolling in grad school was courageous enough. I remember doing that. That's Courageous, indeed. The mountain would take care of itself. I let the image go. As I continued my graduate studies, the disenchantment with my personal life increased. I was waking up to how much I had fallen asleep, as if half of myself were trying to summon the other half to life. Get up, Kim. It's time. Come on, girl. You can do it. I used to talk myself out of bed every morning for a long time. Fun fact. One day I had a vision of myself walking out the door without telling anyone. Oof. Where would you go? My therapist asked. I don't know, I said. I just see myself walking. I end up in the mountains. Which mountains? She asked. I don't know. This ghost like vision lingered with me for a while. Change takes time. The mountain waits. It is patient beyond patient. Oddly enough, though, that winter I was approached to create a series of drawings for a line of pro snowboards. I didn't usually take freelance illustration jobs anymore, and I hadn't ridden a snowboard in about 15 years, but I made an exception. I had a feeling. As any diligent artist does, I began my field research. That meant watching snowboard videos and documentaries and following feeds of renegade riders out there in the wild. There stood the image of the mountain again, its savage, expansive beauty, its stoic peaks, glimmering flutes and spines, gouging rivulets aimed simultaneously toward heaven and earth. I watched the tiny silhouettes of snowboarders gracing her epic crest, and eventually my chest broke open. I sat on the couch and cried for the mountain. I cried for adventure. The tears wouldn't stop. I had been studying, working, drawing, and emailing so bloody hard for so many years that I had abandoned the part of me that loved to be in the world with red cheeks, chilly toes, crisp air in my lungs. About a week later, my life began to freefall, avalanche, in fact. I lost my fourth pregnancy. I left my marriage of 12 years. I shut down my company as I knew it. I closed our bustling New Age storefront in Portland. Out of necessity, I quickly moved to the Oregon coast and set up my art studio. I made a drawing of myself in the mountains and hung it on my otherwise empty wall. It was the only art I had up for many months, my talisman, my map. I had fallen from one summit in search of another. The deeper mountain, the inner mountain, within it there is a cave that holds a fire that contains the ocean. If this doesn't quite make sense, it's because we've already entered the realm of archetypal story where things are both up and down, where the mountain is both inside and out, where a falling is the beginning of a rising, where the poetics reign over the logistics. If you don't mind, just keep descending with me. I promise it will lead us to higher ground where we have a better view. The archetypes are already doing their work in their meandering, dreamlike way. And that's kind of what I feel like as we're going through these. I know we're only 7 cards in, but it's just sort of like walking down this little path and like, okay, what is the mother about? And what is the poet about? And some of these things we know, but I think hearing what the book has to say, and well, mostly you're just hearing what I have to say, but I'm trying to share stories that you're sharing too. So please continue to do that. That we kind of get this bigger picture about how different things can be for different people. Out on the coast, there was no snowy powder for me to ride, so I headed toward the mountain's sister image, the ocean. I went to her every day, rain or shine. I put my hand in the water and brought it to my lips with the prayer, "Show me the way." It was snow, after all, in liquid form. At some point, each drop had graced a mountain peak, so I trusted the practice. I thought of it as drinking the mountain. I began, and being a diligent student, I didn't miss a day. Once spring arrived, I began to surf. The learning curve was steep. I was pummeled by her strength. I was turned over and over underneath the water until I gave up thinking I could compete with or control her. Somewhere along the way, I began to stand on her waves and eventually, occasionally, ride the momentum down the line. My muscles strengthened, my skin weathered, every part of me became thicker and more embodied. What was ghost like became warrior like. What was dormant became enlivened. The role of the artist, after all, is to awaken that which has fallen asleep. It was during this period of effervescent change that I drew the archetypes deck you now hold in your hands. It was the year I faced the archetypal abyss and the archetypal ocean of dissolution. The mountain had led me all the way down to the bottom, to the shores of the ocean within the mountain. After sunrise surfs, I'd drive home and draw, collage, and write. Most of the images you see here were formed as much by the ocean as they were by me. In many ways, I do not feel like I made this deck. It made me. It put me back together, one salty droplet at a time. Driving along 101, I would hear the descriptions of the cards come forward, and I would pull off the road to scribble notes or text myself mythic tidbits. While lying in Savasana, I watched the cards appear. That's like the final, like the resting pose in yoga. I watched the cards appear, then did my best to recreate them in the studio. A pendulum chose the cards' names for me. That was something that I knew but forgot. Um, this deck wanted to become itself, and I did my very best to get out of the way to let it pour forward toward you. It is possible the archetypes have their own agendas, their own work to do on us. With that in mind, I offer you my prayer. Where an image calls to you, may you trust it. Within it, eventually, um, wondrously, may you discover another, deeper image. Call it the ocean within the mountain. If you find yourself within its waters, look for me. No doubt I will be there. With love, Kim Kranz. Okay, sorry, that was a bit long, but I did not feel like there was a good stopping place in there, and I wanted to. I've been kind of putting that off because I didn't want to read so much all at once. But again, I think it's important, especially now that we've waded into these a little bit. Hi, Lori. Thank you for hanging out with us. So there's our bit from the introduction this week. I think that's maybe like the longest bit. And then next week when we do a little bit more of that, there's interesting stuff. There's a few more pages of the intro, but anyway, wanted to kind of give you that context and remind myself too, because it has been a while since I was able to read through that and kind of remember for myself. I remembered in general that she felt that they sort of came to her, that in some way she, kind of meditated or channeled through them, active meditation while she was driving and things like that. And doing this, this hard work, this diligent study, as she said, of going to the ocean every day and asking, putting the water on her lips and asking for the ocean to guide her. I mean, this is a really real sort of creative process that this person was really, head over heels into. So, well, I didn't color anything, but I kind of didn't think I'd be able to. Maybe this afternoon when I get another little break, I will do that. But it's going to be cloudy and like 57 here today, which is my favorite. So I think we're about to be outside for a long time too. So here we are again, the mentor and the poet. Really awesome images, I think, together too. Yeah. So what do we think? Closing thoughts? Oh, good. I'm glad that you liked hearing that. I think it helps kind of anchor us into it a little bit. I'll put these into my stack. Oh, what do we think about colors? Do you trust that I'm still going to color them? I really am. I have my pile. We have color suggestions for these. Yeah, I love cloudy and cool. It's really great. This has been very special, and thank you. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad it has been. My little pile over here. Maybe I'll at least start one of these. Orange for the mentor. That's good. Orange is like the smartest color, right? Oh, yep. Chris is on that too. Let's see what I have in my special Diane bag. I can't tell if that's red. It's tricky. Okay, those are definitely not. This one kind of looks like fiery orange, like exactly what Chris said. But then I can't tell. Well, I can test it. What is wrong with me? Like, I can just figure it out on this little white book. Oh, I'm glad I tested it because it's kind of, this one's kind of pinky. I just wrote Chris because I can't think beyond like the words on the screen. I don't know if it's showing up very pink. Anyway, oh God. This is what happens. Your hand gets stuck in the mop. Here's another orange one. Let's test this, and then I'll let you all go. Here, this one can be Diane. Ooh, that one's, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to mix them. Because look at this one's like really bright. Like brighter orange. It looks darker on the screen. But maybe I'll be fancy. Maybe I'll be like a real artist. Wait, Eternal. The hell? There's our mentor. Okay. Let's see. I used to be a nice writer, but these days it looks like I wrote with my foot. Stop. Oh. Why is there a loud noise? As soon as I try to do something like perfectionist, then there's noise happening. Let me just see real quick. Do. These are my coloring sounds. Oh, I'm making this like way too big to be like done in a moment. Okay, so that's looking like pretty pink. Pretty. Guys, watch Larry David. Pretty pink. Okay. Jackie, are you laughing at Chris writing with his foot? I mean, this pink is amazing. It's like super sparkly and fabulous. Oh, and I can't show you that because it looks like, oh, it just looks like something I can't show this group. I gotta color a different shape. Hold on. Heathens. I type, enough said. I love writing. I will write like kind of obsessively until my hand is just like cramped beyond belief. Here comes the sun. I was singing that all morning because there was like storm clouds out. Oh God. Then the sun was breaking through. It was gorgeous. Okay, so this feels like it takes so long when I'm just sitting here on camera. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna make it work. Did you all watch Project Runway when that was a thing? Tim Gunn saying, make it work? Because I know someone in real life who was on Project Runway. Do you all know? Do you all know Daniel Vosovic from Project Runway? Season, I can't remember my favorite season. Who was on it? Andre and Santino. Anyone? Bueller? Anyone remember Daniel Vosovic? And I think I need to let this dry a little bit. Damn. So Daniel Vosovic is someone I know. He went to Holt High School. Oh, Robin. I think it was season 2. Okay. Daniel Vosovic went to Holt High School, and that's where I went. He was 2 years ahead of me, I think. And I was not friends with him in real life, but his cousin, Nick Vosovic, is married to one of my super great high school friends. Like she did a reading at my wedding. So that's her brother-in-law. So a little bit of degrees of separation. but it's like crazy to see him because I mean, I saw him at school and he looks the same. Anyway, Daniel's great. He was really talented and is, I'm sure. Okay, so this isn't drying at the moment, so I can't do a layer, but I think it's going to work. Oh, All Stars. See, I never saw that, but I should. Oh, God. All right, enough. So I have some of it, and I'll do a layer like this so that it's sort of mixy. Okay? Does that sound great? All right, kids. Thanks for hanging out while I ramble about semi-famous people that I sort of know. But he was at my friend Jeannie's wedding. Like I saw him there, and that was after he was on Project Runway. And everyone's like, oh, Daniel. And he was like all super handsome and just obviously looked amazing because he probably designed and made everything he was wearing. It was a 10. Okay, kids. I will add this to the color of things, to the color of things. To the pile of things to be colored. Oh, Diane likes it. Okay, perfect. Has the artist stamp of approval. You can kind of see how it's different, and I think that's awesome. I will do it like that. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you all have a lovely Sunday, and I'll be back next week. I'll schedule it sooner. I only scheduled this last night. So thank you all for being here. Oh, kids. Yeah, I call everyone kids, and I didn't really, I mean, I think about it all the time because I think, oh, is someone going to be offended by that? Like, I don't ever want to offend, but I just call everyone kids. I don't know if it's because, like, when I was teaching dance a lot, or I don't know, but even my friends, I call kids. I don't know. I will schedule our time for next week. I mean, same time, same place, but I will put up the event a little bit sooner. And I think that's all. I will try to put some things in the group this week, be a little more on top of that. And again, if there's ever anything you want to share that's archetype related or whatever else, please feel free to share it there. And I will catch you all soon. Thank you so much.